Hi everyone, this is Tom with the LEC recap of this week. The LEC just finished its 7th week of play, the penultimate weekend of play before we head into the next super weekend. And yeah, as usual, let's go over all the matches that were played and highlight some interesting moments. The first match of the weekend was between Schalke 04 and XL Esports, and on paper this could have been a pretty close match. Schalke 04 bottom of the standings, even though they went 2-0 in week 6. They were still low on the rankings and XL Esports was there with them. But it wasn't close at all. The early game was pretty exciting, to be honest. Few engages and Schalke was getting aggressive and it paid off for them. And from there on, it simply snowballed into Schalke 04's favor. XL had nothing to say at all in this game. And even when they tried to do something, it was shut down pretty easily, pretty comfortably by Schalke 04. As is shown in this clip.
He's going to be forced to disengage. In fact, the XL are on the hunt.
Go CC though. Cry's going to get zoned away. Suppressor now, Zoe getting pulled back, and that's going to be big. Cage will finding his way into the back line, but the extra flash for Abadage, he's just got too many. Patrick almost immediately one-shot, and now Odoamne is on the hunt. He wants to finish this one off. Tori going in, trying to use the shield, of course. He's going to get stunned up. Cry's does a lot of damage, but Abadage does even more. Jumping forward, fishing for the trouble bubble. Minions there to block, and now Odoamne is there to finish the deal. Counter-strike just in time to ferry him out to safety, and now it's Patrick in trouble. Neon's going to finish that one off. A nice heal coming in from the piercing shadow to finish it, and Torre goes down as well. Gilly is coming in with a chilling smite.
This was followed by the second match of the day, SK Gaming versus Misfits. And all in all, this game can best be described as a roller coaster of emotions, and I do recommend watching it if you want to enjoy a good wild ride. The early game was pretty quiet. Misfits got their first Drake, SK Gaming got the second Drake, but slowly but surely SK Gaming was getting a bit more comfortable. Zazie was playing pretty well, pretty excited to see him step up a bit in this match. And that's where the roller coaster really began. Misfits stole a Drake, won the fight, and got Baron. Then SK Gaming tried to hold on, and they actually did, putting themselves on sole point. Misfits then fought back once again, and they got a Baron, put themselves on the sole point as well. And here was where SK Gaming started to struggle. They weren't really finding the engagements in the late game, and Den made the team painfully aware of that fact.
The Misfits have to be feeling good.
Yeah, and for SK now, if they want to stand a chance, it's all going to come down to Zazie and that shockwave. They're going on to Dan.
Of course, very isolated. Dan is that is one BBGP. Not enough exhaust. So I'm going to say it again. Dan running him down, and that is one strong. That's why we say GP's a scaling champion, by the way, for anyone wondering.
Wow.
And if this wasn't crazy enough yet, it all was cast into even more chaos. While there was a fight happening for the Dragon Soul, Den, top laner for Misfits, tried to backdoor SK Gaming. He actually managed to take 2 Nexus turrets down, exposing the Nexus, but SK Gaming got back in time and fended off the incoming damage. So they hold on for a bit, pushed back, they tried to go for a Baron, and then Misfits stole that Baron. So this was just a complete state of pandemonium is maybe the best word to say. And from there on, SK tried to hold on, but Misfits had a firm grip on the game from here. They killed SK Gaming's players one by one and closed out the game. Now, in the third game, we saw an interesting composition, first pioneered by Cloud9 in the LCS, at least in the major regions. We saw a Lux Sona bot lane on Mad Lion's side with Karzi on the Sona and Kaiser on the Lux. The idea of this composition is pretty simple. You have 2 bot laners farm for a while and try to scale and reach the late game, and your mid, jungle, and top lane try to engage on the enemies in that late game, and with the 2 support healing them up constantly and providing shields, those players will not die. And the idea for Origin would be to have some early aggression and push back against Mad Lions and try to take an early lead and not let that go, not allow Mad Lions to scale. And in the early game, they did a pretty decent job, I would say. Alfari got the first kill, also marking his 500th kill in the LEC. And they had some sort of control over the game. However, Mad Lions pushed back, and around 13 minutes the game was pretty even again, which was a very bad state for Origin to be in. And Mad Lions from here on out just I don't know, they just didn't really let go. It was very eventful, I would say. Even though the engages were very exciting, I wouldn't say that the game was a big back and forth. Mad Lions just had a very comfortable position in this game. When they eventually got a Baron, at around 25 minutes, I believe, they recalled and started walking down the mid lane, and this is where they acknowledge, okay, we are unkillable and Origin cannot really do anything about it. So with that Baron buff, they simply marched down the middle lane, sieged on Origin's base, and closed out the game just like that. Then the fourth match was between G2 and Vitality. Now, this match doesn't really deserve a lot of attention. It was fairly one-sided. G2 played very aggressively. Caps once again stepped up big time, was a big carry for G2, as he had also been in the past few weeks. Even in defeat, Caps was always playing very well. And on his Zoe, he once again really dominated. So G2 was playing very aggressive, very promising stuff from them to see, obviously, after such disastrous results in the past weeks. And yeah, very comfortable victory for them. Now, the fifth and final match of the first day was Rogue versus Fnatic. And this was, in the beginning, maybe a bit closer than people would have expected. Rogue, the #1 shared team in the league, and Fnatic, a team that's definitely shaken. Even though they were getting victories, they weren't comfortable at all, and absolutely showed some huge flaws in their gameplay. In the early game, Rogue was pretty comfortable though. They were getting Drakes, stuff like that. But Fnatic, to their credit, tried to push Rogue in an uncomfortable position, where they applied pressure, tried to find spots where Rogue was caught off guard and capitalize on that. And eventually Rogue did manage to go to a Infernal Soul point, but Fnatic definitely did make Rogue sweat and work for it. So that's definitely was a sign of improvement, I would say. And I think in general, Rogue has been showing some weaknesses in their later stages of the game, where they really cannot find a good position to contest objectives from. And that was once again true here. So the match was, I would say, decided when Fnatic chose to go for what may be the worst engage of the split so far.
You want much more defensive with the Banshee. Bale's a little bit worried, and here we go, Selfmade.
Hey, Selfmade's going to deliver Vanda. That will be a kill for Reckless. Now it's 5 apiece. Call the Forge Guard, knocks up Larson. Emperor's Divide buys enough time for the rest of Rogue to escape, but a man down and a Baron available. Hilly throws out the Tempered Fate. Angry Bee from Finn. Cosmic Binding needs to connect with something, and it does not.
Oh no!
The damage in return. The whiffed Shockwave as well. And Hillisang does Hillisang things.
Oh, Selfmade going in!
He is indeed. Turns his attention onto Finn. He's blown up. Why? Why? The rest of Fnatic were not there. Curse of
on the flank.
Is fired down, and there comes Larson. Inspired manages to get the knock up on a Bwippo. He's once again locked up and stunned by the Sejuani passive. Finn is going to...
From here on out, Rogue persevered and they held on to the game. Perhaps the victory for them wasn't as clean as it should have been against this Fnatic, but you know, a win is a win, I suppose, and I hope for them that they can flesh things out as they approach playoffs, because with this victory they also secured a spot in the playoffs. Fnatic, another loss, yeah, pretty disappointing. Day 2, Schalke 04 kicked off against Origin, and this was a pretty entertaining match, I would say. There were a few skirmishes early on, but no real kills. And both teams were playing very actively on the map, which made it also very exciting to watch. Even though the kills weren't really coming through, it was nice to see that teams weren't really stuck in their laning phase. Eventually though, Origin started to default back to their more reactive style rather than being proactive, which is where Schalke was more on the hunt than Origin, and it became a bit more one-sided. Now, Schalke had a decent lead overall in the game, and the things really turned around when Schalke found how to approach Origin in team fights, and that's where things exploded, as is best illustrated by this clip.
And let's see, this Dragon could be influential. If Origin pick it up, they are 1 away from the Soul. Yes, you've got a very good rocket grab onto Odoamne. He's going low. The Devour was fantastic from Dreams. Bought a lot of time. Call of the Forge God splits OG. And now Abadage, he's already taken down Nukeduck. He flashes to safety. The tower's still up. OG are wrecked. OG are locked in between the Royal Blue. And they are going to you get aced?
It wasn't quite over yet though. Origin found a pretty good fight in the top lane and went for the Baron. So it looked like they would be back into the game. However, as you may already have seen on social media, Schalke, and especially Gilius and Dreams, who worked in perfect synergy here, had other plans.
They rushed towards the Baron. With 2 dead, 2 of the big engage tools, 40 seconds, this is exactly the play Origin needed to be able to swing this game back in their control.
God Gilius giveth, God Gilius taketh.
If he steals this Baron,
God Gilius needs to rise up for the Royal Blue and Schalke null fear. He's got Flash, he's got Smite,
Neon's
he's got
still
a
there as well.
Railgun from Neon. 4,000 HP, 3,000 HP, 2,500.
Oh, he goes
Pulls to the rocket grab, pulled inside, Flash down, goes back in. Gilius, he steals it! He does it! Gilius, you are a god amongst men!
Honestly, it's really refreshing to see Schalke perform like this. They stepped up massively and they are actually looking like a team that should be able to contest with the good teams in the playoffs. Now, their chances, as we will get to later, to make it to the playoffs are very slim, but at least there's this very nice narrative going on now of Schalke's miracle run, and many people are on board hoping to see that happen. And yeah, they close out the weekend with a very dominant 2-0 victory, and they are looking so much better than they did before. Origin looking very shaky and not good at all. XL then took on Misfits in the second game of the day, and XL had a pretty early lead. They did it pretty well, especially because Patrick just was handed 3 kills basically when Origin decided to dive the bot lane, but Patrick on his Callisti absolutely shredded them. So overall, while the match wasn't very explosive, I would say that this early lead from XL was the defining point in the game. And from here on out, yeah, XL just didn't really give up their lead. It wasn't a very clean match overall, but Patrick was going 5-0 at 30 minutes, and that was just all XL needed. And Misfits had very little to say overall, even though they tried stuff. Patrick was the carry of the team. I think he ended the match with 8 kills and 0 deaths. So overall, a very strong showing from him, and XL actually put themselves in a pretty decent position with that to make playoffs too. Then it was between Rogue and SK Gaming. Now on paper, a top match, because both these teams in the upper echelons of the LEC standings, and it was pretty close early on. Rogue was getting more kills, but SK Gaming, as used to be their trademark style, they've deviated from it a bit, was getting the Drakes. And eventually though, around the mid game, it looked like Rogue had a pretty comfortable path to victory. They were 6-1 in terms of kills at 20 minutes, so that is a lead that generally nobody would give away, and certainly Rogue, who had been performing so consistently well. But in about 1 minute of time, everything fell apart for Rogue.
The big nightmare that I always have whenever a Rise gets fed is if you don't have reliable points like CC, which at this point, SK Gaming do not. He's going to phase rush on you, but they might be able to steal this one away. Trick, can you do it? Woo! Mountain Soul. Well played, Trick. Okay, I was ready to just, call this one done. We were going to fill the space however we needed to, but with Mountain Soul, maybe SK can start to come out on top in these fights.
SK Gaming stole the Drake, and then this happened.
Top in these fights.
I mean, it's never going to hurt, but again, it just doesn't feel as good as it should, especially for how powerful Larssen still is, and you can see that Rogue knows that as well. They kill Trick, trade his life for the Mountain Soul, and then immediately turn on the Baron, and the only option that SK have is to try to fight them. Good luck!
And poor Crown Shot, he's playing an AD carry that was designed so long ago. It simply does not have the tools to do everything it needs to, but they managed to connect the snare. Larssen forced to flash out. The Baron stolen away by Zazie. Frostguard, and this is where you just don't understand. Zazie had clutch potential the entire time.
What?
It was baffling. It was unimaginable that Rogue were actually losing this. But they did. The game was ended by SK Gaming, who only got 4 kills the entire game. Rogue had 7 kills this game, but just by giving away a Dragon Soul and immediately giving away the Baron Nashor, Rogue handed SK this victory. Pretty worrying, actually. Rogue was playing very well, but I think in the past weeks in general, we've seen that Rogue had trouble finding their way in the late game, and yeah, I do think that's definitely something they need to address heading into the playoffs, because these teams will punish them for it if they find out how to play against Rogue. Then the fourth match was between Mad Lions and Vitality. Now, obviously, Mad Lions had a lot to win here. Rogue had just fallen, and Mad Lions could secure themselves a sole #1 position in the LEC. However, Vitality wasn't letting Mad Lions get away with this so easily, and they actually were very aggressive. They were in Mad Lions' face, trying to show them, hey, you can be aggressive, but we can be aggressive too. And it worked. It really worked. Vitality took a comfortable lead in the game and was just applying pressure overall in the map. They were taking towers, they were taking objectives. I think overall this was a very impressive showing from Vitality. And Mad Lions, to their credit, they acknowledged how Vitality was approaching the match. So for example, when Vitality was going for Baron Nashor, Mad Lions immediately pivoted and said, okay, now we need to jump and get the Elder Drake buff. But overall, Vitality just showed up and performed well, even in team fights. Skeens on his Lee Sin was playing absolutely out of his mind, and particularly hunting down Karzi, even though Karzi was on Ezreal, which makes it even more impressive from Skeens, was just hunting him down constantly and reigning supreme over Mad Lions. So Vitality, early game, very good, knowing exactly what they do. They just pushed Mad Lions out of the game, and with that got themselves another victory, and Mad Lions and Rogue stayed on top together. Then the final match of the day, the match of the week, obviously G2 versus Fnatic. Now, even though these teams haven't been performing so well recently, given their legacy, given the rivalry, still worthy of a match of the week, and especially because these teams are now not guaranteed a spot in playoffs anymore. Odds are looking good, but even then, they still will have to seriously fight for a ticket to Worlds. So, early on, pretty exciting. Pretty exciting first 5 minutes in the game. Fnatic getting a first blood in the bot lane, then trying more with dives in the bot lane. Didn't really work out, but yeah, I would say the first 5 minutes were pretty exciting and looked promising to live up to the hype that had been built. Though G2, once they started to find their aggression and their trademark pouncing style, always being on the hunt, things got a lot more difficult from Fnatic. Even though they were getting Drakes, G2 was just constantly breathing in their necks and trying to look for an opportunity to catch Fnatic off guard. And they did eventually manage to get to that state. Fnatic had a lot of trouble in the past few weeks with team coordination, and it started to show up once again. I think it's best illustrated towards the ends of the game with this clip.
Sing certainly does not have any in the fight. Yanko's going to follow up topside. Cap's going to go looking to try to finish with a one-shot here. Hextrigger doing a little bit of work, but not enough to finish the job as Cap's just going to zoom out to safety. But no, Nemesis, a little bit of redemption after that play, but he goes into the redemption and dies just like that. No, what?
And from here on out, there was just nothing but dominance from the Samurai as they rolled over Fnatic. G2 looking like they are finally getting back in that shape. I wouldn't say they are on that top level yet, but definitely getting there. And Fnatic, yeah, they need to seriously address what's happening in the team. And I hope for them that they can pull together for the final weekend. And if they can get to the playoffs, that they can perform there. But so far, it's looking very worrying on their side. And with that, these are the standings as they are now in the LEC Summer Split. Mad Lions and Rogue are still the #1 teams in the LEC, now with an 11-4 scoreline. Then we come to G2 and SK Gaming, who are at an 8-7 scoreline. On a shared 5th place, we find Fnatic and XL Gaming with a 7-8 score. On a shared 7th position, Misfits, Origin and Vitality are found with a 6-9 score. Closing off the table still is Schalke 04. Despite their 2-0 weekend, they're still in a 10th place, but they are getting closer to those other teams. That's it for the LEC recap of this week. Let me know in the comments what you think were exciting moments of the past weekend. And as usual, if you like the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and also stay tuned for more content.